So if no parent ever sees the need to go down this pathway, why would any teacher want to do this? So teachers need to get back to basics. They need to do the classroom instruction in our schools that works. They need to stick to the basics of literacy, numeracy, basic history and geography.
Well, we know they need to, but they're not, Mark. But they're not. I mean, the kids are being taught welcome to country. This is not their country. Little kids, this is not your country. They're being taught Australia Day is Invasion Day. I mean, a university lecturer in an international relations class, this was brought to my attention only today at Sydney University, and this is what the students were told last week by the lecturer, quote, "I'm zooming into you from Gadigal land. I want to pay my respects to elders, both past and present, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land." Mark, this is a university lecturer polluting the minds of young students.
Well, it's a nonsense, of course. Land was never held in freehold title by Indigenous. They had no such system. Despite what Bruce Pascoe writes, they were a nomadic community that moved across the land with no title deeds. And, you know, where I live, I always acknowledge the traditional owners. They were the MacArthur family that established the wealth of the nation out at Camden. I live on their old calf farm property. So ownership of land came here in 1788 with European settlement, and that's just the fundamental truth.
Fundamental truth.
And you can have as many welcome to countries as you like. A lot of people resent being welcome to their own nation. I was born here, as was you, Alan, as were you, born Australian. So I don't need to be welcomed here. It's the only country I've ever known, the country of my nationality. So a lot of this is nonsense. It's propaganda and a distraction from what they should be teaching in preschool, schools and universities.
Well, this brings me back to a discussion you and I had on television a year and a half ago, a letter from a deputy principal at a public school on the Central Coast, which said, because we've got to start, this has got to be overturned. Dear parents, carer, as part of our child protection unit, Year 2 classes will participate in a lesson about gender diversity. This lesson provides students with the opportunity to explore the topic of gender and gender diversity. Gender refers to the way you feel on the inside. It might be expressed by how you dress or how you behave. And for some people, these things may change over time. The lesson is supported by the Anti-Discrimination Act to ensure that school is an inclusive place for all students. If you don't want your child to participate in this lesson, please sign and return the permission slip below. Mark, this is our point about what is happening in the classroom. Is this stuff more important than geography, spelling, history, tables, poetry, literature?
Well, the notice that went out is fundamentally untrue. It's not supported by the New South Wales Anti-Discrimination Act. There's nothing in that statute about teaching gender fluidity to 7-year-old kids in Year 2. And what happened at Yamina Beach was plainly wrong, but I couldn't get the Minister for Education, Sarah Mitchell, to admit to the truth of what had happened. She originally told me in the Parliament, under questioning, that this lesson was conducted outside of formal school time. But that was untrue. It was a classroom lesson in school time in response to apparently some Year 2 student who was saying they'd made a gender transition. That may or may not be valid, but it's no reason why everyone else in the school has got to learn about gender fluidity. And to make things worse, if the next day a boy comes to school there, a 7-year-old, and says, "Oh, I'm a girl now," the rules of the Perrottet government are that the kid has got the right to tell the school, "You're not allowed to tell my parents." So, Alan, this has got to the point now where little kids can run a school, they can run their own family under the banner of gender transition, and no sensible adult in the room does anything about it. So I've never known the reason. I've never heard a valid explanation as to why sexuality and gender need to be taught in our schools. They're matters for parents. They're matters for these young people when they become adults, and it's at 18, people can do whatever they like. But at age 7, these children have got to be protected from lessons they don't understand. They clearly have a gender ideology motive and are a distraction from the real task of a school. Teach them how to read, teach them how to write, teach them how to be numerate and get on with a decent life.